I'm now joined by Anniken Huitfeldt, the Norwegian Foreign Minister. Ukraine has been launching quite a successful counter-offensive in recent days. How much is Norway prepared to deliver to Ukraine so that this momentum can actually be seized?
Prime Minister Sturre visited Kiev this summer and promised funding to Ukraine for like €1 billion, which I think will be important. This money goes to weapons, of course, but also to humanitarian assistance and also money so they can buy more gas. So it's important for us to unite with Ukraine. And Norway, we haven't delivered weapons to countries in conflict for more than 60 years. But we changed the practice when this war started, like countries like Sweden and Finland also did. So there's an enormous solidarity with the Ukrainian people in Norway. We do also have a border to Russia, so we know what this neighbor is about, even though they have a different policy up in the high north than they have towards Ukraine.
So changing this position of actually delivering weapons to a crisis area, that is of course something that you have in common with a country like Germany. We've also changed our position here in this country. What should Germany be doing? Which weapons should it deliver to Ukraine?
Well, it's a purely German decision. That's my message. But as an overall view, I think it has been very important that Western countries have been sending weapons to Ukraine so they can be able to protect themselves. Without those weapons, there would be another game in another situation in Ukraine right now.
Norway also supports Ukraine in terms of delivering humanitarian aid. Now, you've come to Berlin to discuss the topic of gender issues in foreign policy. So which role do gender issues play in this conflict with Russia?
We get several reports about how women are affected. On the ground, we can see rapes used as a weapon in this war and also other wars all around the world. So we need to focus very clearly on the consequences for both men and women in this conflict.
And more broadly, perhaps, gender issues in foreign policy is something that Norway has long advocated for, but it is a topic that not many countries so far have been taking on board. That is beginning to change. Why are the Scandinavian countries such an exception, and what can other countries learn from your country?
We have this experience that if we are bringing women to the table in a conflict situation, the peace deal tend to last longer, basically because their perspectives are being brought in. We see that in several conflicts in the world. We have hosted dialogue between the different groups in Colombia for like 10 years together with Cuba. And there has been very many women-led delegations. Women have been included around the table as victims, but also as mediators. So that's absolutely crucial in order to let peace still last.
Norway supports multilateralism as an approach to essentially look at solutions for worldwide conflicts. Now, multilateralism is being tested in the Arctic, of course, where melting ice is now bringing more natural resources to the surface, and countries like the US and China and Russia are using this field to pursue their own strategic interests. How uncomfortable is this for Norway?
Well, I think it's a general description of the situation that there is more like status quo in the Arctic. We are trying to do our utmost to keep low tension in the high north, but we can really see very visible the climate changes up there, and we need to cooperate very strongly with the other Arctic nations.
Norway has, of course, been a NATO member from the very start of the alliance. Now, Finland and Sweden, also in Scandinavia, are about to join the alliance. What hopes do you have for their membership?
It means a lot to our security, because we have been working stronger and stronger together with Finland and Sweden over the last years. after 1989. But still there have been limitations due to the fact that they have been neutral and we've been a member of NATO. But now it's very much easier to build a common defence strategy that will make Norway safer.
The NATO alliance has given itself this goal of spending 2% of the national budget on defence. Now, what is the discussion in Norway right now? Do people feel like more is necessary?
Yeah, we do have a program now for strengthening our military presence up in the high north. We have a very special security policy because we base our security policy on deterrence together with allies. So we host a huge military exercise earlier this spring with thousands of soldiers from close allies around Europe and also Canada and United States came to the Norwegian waters and took place in Norway this spring. But on the other hand, we also trying to do our utmost to keep low tension. And by doing that, we are balancing Norwegian interest up in the high north.
And which lessons can be drawn from Russia's war on Ukraine for other crises around the world?
We've been in the Security Council for almost 2 years now, and we have been able, even in this situation, to find common solutions by working very closely with other countries in the Security Council. And this is very important, that we don't get a spillover effect to other conflicts. I mean, some conflicts will be more difficult to solve, but others may be a window of opportunity because this conflict, this war, has global consequences. We can see increase in food prices, increase in energy prices. However, we need to maintain the architecture as good as we can. But it's difficult to work with Russia now, of course.
When you look at other crises around the world, which are the crises that you have your eye on most?
We are working strongly on Colombia and also Venezuela. I am going to chair a meeting in the donor group for Palestine when I'm going to New York next week, and a new situation in the Middle East where we need to encourage more dialogue between all the countries in that region will also be a priority for Norway. So we have been taking part in many talks during the last 30 years. However, we never put pressure on the parties. That's not the Norwegian model, but we will be happy if countries or parts in a conflict would invite Norway as a mediator in several of these conflicts.
Here in Europe, many people for decades have relied on the fact that the US would ultimately protect Europe and that European countries don't need to be too active themselves. But we've seen the United States be more and more focused on the Indo-Pacific. So what should a country like Germany, which is of course one of Europe's strongest countries, do in terms of protecting Europe more?
Well, that's actually my point when I'm giving speeches about the new security. That there will be less attention from the United States because they have their eyes on what's happening in Asia and that part of the world, and we need to take more care of our own territories. And Germany certainly are stepping up. And we've had a very, very strong cooperation with Germany during the last years, and this will be strengthened, I think, in the years to come.
Would your country consider joining the European Union?
There are different opinions on that in Norway. We had one referendum in '72 where people voted no, and another one in '94 where also the majority of people voted no. But there's an ongoing debate in Norwegian society whether we should join or not.
Anniken Huitfeldt, Norwegian Foreign Minister, thank you very much.